Breaking news.
Welcome to the Tulsa Music Stream. And now, your hosts, Scott, Jana, and Nine. You wanted the dirt on Tulsa. You got it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tulsa Music Stream. I'm your host, Scott Squires. This is Nine, that's Jana. This is episode 71. Make sure you share this stream on your Facebook pages, all your favorite groups, all your favorite pages, and make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube and hit those likes, and make sure you comment. We're also on Twitter and Twitch, and also we are on all the platforms like Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, and all the other podcast platforms. So welcome everyone. We got Jason McMaster from Dangerous Toys and others.
Yeah, many others. He has a very extensive musical resume. He's actually already arrived. We're going to go ahead and get him on screen now so we can get into this. Jason, welcome to Tulsa Music Stream. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, guys. Kudos to the Armored Saint shirt.
He wore that just for you,
I did
bud.
it just for you, buddy.
Well, you and I need to hang out.
So cool.
Yeah, you know, after doing I'm a big Armored Saint fan anyway, and of course I went to the Wasp tour, but I was a big Armored Saint fan back in the day. I mean, all the old obscure bands, you know, all the heavy bands like Icon, Kill, and you know, I grew up listening to all those cool bands that weren't very popular. But it's great to hear that story, and we'll get into that as far as Accept and all that, man. It's an amazing story.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me introduce you to everybody real quick on the panel here. Looking to your far right, that's Scott down at the end. We've got Nine in the middle. My name is Jana. And we started doing this podcast. We're going to ask you about your podcast efforts down a little bit later in the stream. We started doing it because we got bored during the pandemic, and it's been a blast, and we're really glad to have you here. Like I told the viewers, Jason, you have an incredibly impressive and expansive musical resume. I think that's a testimony not only to your skill, but your versatility as well, as far as being such a sought-out vocalist for so many different projects. And when I reached out to you, we talked a little bit about, of course, we're going to get into everything from your past, but let's talk about Cassius King, because I know this is one of your current projects. You guys put out this really great album, Dread the Dawn. And if you guys haven't seen the video for Abandoned Paradise, fantastic song, fantastic video. Why don't you tell us a little bit about coming together with these guys, this project, and the making of this album?
Great. Thank you for all the nice things that you just said. I have known guitarist Dan Lorenzo, Cassius King guitarist Dan Lorenzo, for 1,000,000 years. Cassius King is a Jersey-based band, and they in the 80s all three guys were in and out. Mainly Dan was the only, I think, consistent member of a band called Hades. And Hades had a record out on Torrid Records, the same label as the first Exodus, Bonded by Blood, Torrid Records. They didn't tour a whole lot, but much like the band I was in at the time, I was in a band called Watchtower between like 1982 and right up until 1988, which is around the time I had to jump ship and go make the Dangerous Toys debut. But anyway, during that time, I was a part of the tape trading world in the underground, and so I met all kinds of people. I received all kinds of cool free shit and shirts and albums, and befriended a lot of people by pen pal, you know.
Oh, wow.
And because there was no internet, everything is, I am prehistoric, pre-internet, Jurassic McMaster. You know, me and Alan Tecchio, who actually replaced me in Watchtower and is on the second Watchtower album, Alan Tecchio, his band, he sang for Hades. So that kind of puts that together. The Cassius King thing, I've known Dan since those days, but we had never really written together until the pandemic. He was writing songs. He had a few different singers. He had a few different projects he was working on. And so Dread the Dawn is actually the second and most current Cassius King record. We made a record before that. We pretty much put them out one right after the other. Might have been about 6 months in between.
Wow.
Maybe 8 months in between. Anyway, the first record is called Field Trip. Dan Lorenzo has this other project called Vessel of Light, which is very, I would say it fits kind of a doom style of metal. It's, you know, Sabbath, but in a different, it's not just Sabbath. I mean, there's a whole movement of that stuff, a little bit psychedelic sometimes. And you could say the same thing about Cassius King. Now, Vessel of Light doesn't sound anything like Cassius King, especially when the singers start singing. Vessel of Light has a different singer, and his name is Nathan Opposition, and Nathan was in a band called Ancient Wisdom. And Dan is a huge fan of them, and he reached out to Nathan, and they started writing much in the same, except me and Dan had this past. You know, Watchtower stole his singer, and then he stole Watchtower's singer. Kind of back anyway.
Right.
You get it. Yeah. So it's very incestuous, but I love the style. I've always wanted to. I'm a big fan of Trouble.
Yes.
And anything Wino, you know, does, Saint Vitus. And I've always wanted to do stuff. Now, the fact that me and Dan and everybody in Cassius King are giant AC/DC, Kiss, and Aerosmith and Cheap Trick fans, we can't really get away from where we come from.
Right,
so
right.
It's like this doom stuff, but it's basically a rock album. I just happen to be channeling, you know, Ronnie James Dio and Ozzy Osbourne the whole time.
It sounds amazing. We dig
Thanks.
it.
The album covers were both done by the same man. That's Claudio Bergaman, who did Judas Priest Firepower.
Oh, that's great.
He's a great artist. These are most of his stuff the layouts that he's done for us have been based off of photographs. He's a great photographer and just great artist, great mind. You can check out claudiobergaman.net. I think just Google will do the work for you.
Okay. All right.
You know,
he's awesome.
You know, of course we're Tulsa Music Stream, so you know we like to talk a lot of some things about bands that have toured here in Tulsa and everything. And I remember seeing you. I guess it was back in '89. It was at a place called the Beat Club, and it was you guys and Junkyard. And your album just dropped, and that made me go and get Junkyard's album. It was a smaller club, But man, that was just a very intense show for the two frontmen, you and Junkyard, like veins popping out of your heads. And then I guess you guys came back a little later after that. I think that was 2008 at the Cain's Ballroom with both bands, I believe.
With Rhino Bucket on the bill as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you remember those shows at all?
I remember Cain's. I don't remember the Beat Club so much, but that must have been in September of '89 because
the fall. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Cain's
we did
is
a
a
whole
historic place, man. You had to have learned the history of Cain's Ballroom while you were here.
Yeah,
You came here. You
Cain's-
played the Cain's Ballroom with LA Guns too, I think.
Yes, and that would have been in October, right after the Junkyard run, I guess.
Yeah, because it wasn't too long after that show you guys were at the Cain's. But man, that little small club was just intense, and I was pretty much up front, and I just got out of high school, so I was fresh 18 years old. And you know, back then when you're 18 years old and all I knew was heavy metal, I mean, and being up that close in such a small club with two bands that, you know, just released two great albums, and you guys were all over MTV. It was just kind of an intense show for me.
I'm glad that it made such an impact on such a young mind, and you have been warped forever.
Exactly. We were on the path anyway.
Just like you know, Kiss Alive on all the Kiss records, you know, when we were in the 70s.
I think that's why we all play, is because of Kiss. Honestly,
For sure.
Well, they're the best gateway band. I don't know another band that has influenced and spawned as many ne'er-do-wells as Kiss has.
Yeah.
We've done 71 of these, and almost every guy on here has said that's what got them started. Not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
could probably run a whole hour or 2 hours just talking about Kiss alone on this show.
No doubt. You grew up defending them too.
Yeah.
Sounds very familiar.
So,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, besides Cassius King, you also are active with Dirty Looks, and let's put this stuff up on the screen.
I love Dirty Looks.
Man, yeah, I'm anxious to get into this with you as well. So you guys are going to be performing on the Monsters of Rock cruise, which is always a good time from what I've heard. I haven't gotten to go yet, but April 29th through May 4th, look for Dirty Looks on that cruise. You can see the flyer up in the top right corner that shows all of the acts that will be there. And you guys have a live CD DVD set available now, Cool from the Speedway. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you got hooked up with those guys? I think it was in 2019. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But how did you come together? I'm sorry?
I said good enough for me.
Good enough for you. How did you get hooked up with those guys, and what do you foresee happening with Dirty Looks going forward besides just the shows we just talked about?
Well, I don't know if I'll just start at the beginning. In 1992, Dangerous Toys lost a guitar player. And we had a who's now a regional country star, Kevin Fowler. We had him play in the band for about 9 months until we could get Paul Idell to move to Texas from the East Coast. And so, long story short on that part of it, since January of 94, Paul Idell from Dirty Looks has been the guitar player in Dangerous Toys.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's a long time.
Sure.
So, and we were big Dirty Looks fans prior to, early Toys inception. We heard Cool from the Wire while we were at the hotel getting ready to head to a show in San Antonio, which probably would have been early '88. Yeah, could have been spring of '88, or no, not even that. I'd stick with my first end of '87, because I didn't start working with the Toys until October of '87.
Mm-hmm.
And then by March, we were already being courted by labels. So we knew about Dirty Looks by Cool from the Wire, we were getting ready for a show, and Oh Ruby came on the radio, and I was like, you guys hear this? And we were just blown away. And then we found out Max Norman did it, and made us fans, even bigger fans immediate. We all went and bought their record and blah, blah, blah. So we're starting that LA Guns tour. You know, obviously things had happened to the Toys between, you know, the time we heard Oh Ruby on the radio and October 11th of 1989. We're starting that tour with LA Guns. It's Tora Tora, Dangerous Toys, and LA Guns. And we're at the Austin Opera House, first night of the tour, and Dirty Looks just happens to be playing at a club called Back Room, the Back Room, a club that we were just actually discovered in. And so, you know, I'm watching, I'd done my set, or I'm watching Tora Tora, and I go, well, I better go, you know, get ready to warm up or whatever. And I open the door, and there's Jack Pyers and Paul Lydell from Dirty Looks standing there, who I've never met. And I'm going, whoa, you're Paul and you're Jack from Dirty Looks. We're going to go over and see you guys play tonight. You know, so they were fans of ours, and we were little beknownst, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so, you know, we did our show, and then after our set, I think I watched a couple of LA Gun songs, and then we all ran over to the Back Room to watch Dirty Looks play. So we've been friends ever since. You know, it was a long time ago, and so when we needed a guitar player, and I stayed in touch with Paul, we needed a guitar player. You know, me and Paul kind of knew that he didn't know what was, you know, going to happen with Dirty Looks, and he knew that he would have wanted me to call him if I ever needed him, so I did. And that was in late '92 or something, and he had to do a tour. I think 5 Easy Pieces had just come out, Dirty Looks, and he had to tour, and he couldn't just jump ship, and that sounds like the Paul I know, but he was interested. So instead of sitting on our hands, we auditioned players, and like I said, we had Kevin Fowler. You guys ever heard of Kevin Fowler?
I have not.
That name rings a bell for me.
He's a big country star regionally. You know, he's been doing it a long time. Anyway, he was a friend of ours, and he had been in a bunch of cool like rock bands and southern rock bands around here, Austin, Texas, and so we got him, and he was in a band about 9 months, and then Paul called. He goes, "I can be there January 1st." I'm like, holy moly! You know, it was like a dream come true. There was literally no audition necessary.
Wow.
So he's been in the band ever since. So about 6 years ago, Gene Barnett and Jack Pyers' original, Cool from the Wire and Turn of the Screw lineup rhythm section, Gene the drummer and Jack the bass player, they decide to do a tribute to Henrik Ostergaard, the main man, songwriter, guitar player in Dirty Looks, who sadly passed away about 12 years ago now.
Yeah.
They call Paul and they go, "Hey, we're getting the band back together," that kind of story, you know. And do you know any singers kind of thing? And Paul basically told those guys, excuse me, I love you, Paul. Paul says to those guys, that sounds great, only if Jason can be the singer.
Oh, wow. What a compliment.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, he didn't want it to be hard work, and he knows that I'm a huge fan and would be upset if I wasn't at least, you know, asked to be a part of it. And so we started, you know, thinking about that, but those guys wanted to hear me sing, you know, their Dirty Look stuff, and so I think Paul did like 30-second snippets of about 4 songs. I don't remember what they were. I'm sure they were, you know, Nobody Rides for Free, Cool from the Wire, Oh Ruby, and Turn of the Screw, or something like that. Maybe Put a Spell on You. I don't remember. And that was fun. So I demoed out. I sang just those snippets. It was only about 3 minutes worth of music. And then I didn't really hear anything about it. But then, a couple years later, we found ourselves actually working on it. Those guys came down to Austin and we rehearsed a full set, and we actually had a couple of shows booked, and then COVID hit.
Right. Yeah.
So, year or two later, we get some of those gigs back, and we end up doing well. We recorded one of them, and that's cool, from the Speedway. It was recorded in Sealands Grove, Pennsylvania, which was the actual stomping grounds of Dirty Looks, and I call it Kicks territory.
Right.
It's right out. It's there. PA and Maryland and that whole area, all
That's
the
where
way
they
up
have the
to
M3 festival.
Yep, all the way up there, Rochester and back. It's multi-state rock congregation. So there's a bunch of bands from up that way. Anyway, so the recording came out great. We had a video crew there. We came back home and started putting it together and released that, and then did a couple shows right after it was released, and so we're playing on the cruise, and we've this 2.0 version or whatever. There's been a little bit of hater stuff going on because obviously I'm not Henrik. Sure. And but I think that people who hear the record and hear the live show and watch the DVD, and some of the songs from the DVD you can find on YouTube. And the point is if you are really listening and watching and paying attention to the things that are being said by the current lineup, you understand the respect and love we have for whatever is Dirty Looks and whoever is Henrik Ostergaard. There's no doubt that we care, and we miss Henrik, and it's a tribute to Henrik just as much as it is anything else.
Yeah.
He
has such a cool vibe about him.
Yeah.
Of course, his voice, you could tell his roots, were very early AC/DC, but the way he, especially for that time, he just went on stage and just gave it his all, and it was just a genuine performance every time he would get on stage. And he didn't dress up, like everybody else in those days, and he just kind of just wore his jeans and t-shirt and just went at it, man. So that's so cool. But you did mention the back room.
I think he just crawled. I think he just crawled out of bed.
Right. Him and Malcolm up all night.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the back room, which is a club from where you were coming up in, and there's a documentary called Bloody and Bruised, I believe, and is that
Bloody and Bruised: The Untold Story of the Back Room. That's a documentary movie that's coming out, I believe, next year.
Okay.
It's going to be in some festivals. They've been showing the teaser for it on some reels at some current festivals at this point. Company that made the film is called Penny Rock Productions.
Right.
They were there. I mean, that was their drinking hole, back room. They hung out there. So when it closed, and it's kind of part of their childhood, if you will. So. And like I said,
is that Houston or
Austin, Texas?
Austin.
Yeah.
And
everyone
in that movie
everyone played there. Pantera played. Everybody played there.
Wow.
Just think of a band, and they played 3 nights. The Ramones, 2 nights. Motorhead.
It's a shame when a cool classic place like that gets closed down. That's a shame. That's the cool thing of referring back to the Cain's Ballroom. It's been around forever, and a lot of cool people have played there. Sex Pistols played there.
Exactly.
Van Halen played there before they were huge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know that you're in that documentary.
The back room was kind of like some people's Cain's Ballroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's so wild how back then, you had Deep Elm, in Dallas, and of course you had Sunset Boulevard, and you had all these really cool Mecca places for people to go to enjoy, a music scene and all these clubs and all these bands. And I remember going down to Deep Ellum and it was just packed. I mean, every weekend it was just packed full of people. You go down there or you go up to Hollywood now and it's just like, tumbleweeds and stuff. And it's just so depressing,
It's sad.
Yeah, it's the people that make a legend and something lasts forever. It's not the building.
That's right. That's
So,
really true.
I think that it's important to remember the people that were together when things were happening, and I mean, sure, I get like you. I'm sentimental as well when I'm in that part of town. There's a club that I play at quite often called Come and Take It Live.
Oh yeah, I played there actually. That's a cool place.
Yeah, it's great. And anyway, so here's Come and Take It. Well, the back room, which is now the new Emos, is right here. So it's part of the same, I'll go ahead and say it, strip mall, right? It's part of the same parking lot,
Right.
But that's hollow ground. The toys were discovered there. The back room is it was a legitimate. It was on the map. It was on the rock and roll map for a long, long time, and now Emos, which is kind of used to be called the Alternative Club. It's just a rock venue now, but there was a club downtown on 6th Street as well as a sister venue. It might have been the mother of it. It might have been the first Emos was in Houston, down in Houston. And so there were those two Emos forever. And the owner of Emos bought that block there, the old back room, basically, tore the roof off, raised the roof, and turned it into a professional venue. It holds like 2,000 people.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I've seen Testament and Down, and I've seen a bunch of cool, but everybody plays there now. So, it's
cool.
hollow ground, but it's right there by Come and Take It. If you've been to Come and Take It, you've been on hollow ground.
Yeah, I
for
played there. I played there just like I went there with a band called Mudflux just about a year and a half ago, I guess maybe.
All right.
And it was a cool place, man. It was really cool, and got some cool pictures from there too.
Nice.
So before we get it, because I know we definitely want to talk to you about your stints covering some shows for Accept and Armored Saint. I'm going to let Scott cover that because we watched your Talk Louder interview that you did, where you pretty much gave a kind of a blow by blow, memory recall of that experience and how amazing that must have been. Before we get into that, I do want to read a few viewer comments and questions. Jerry Crittenden says, love the Bad Company cover, feel like making love better than the original. Melanie Yielding Hall says, love the movie memorabilia behind you. And Dustin Little has a question. He says, during the worldwide tour in 89-90, what were some of the most memorable venues you played at?
Cobo Hall,
There you
Oh,
go.
sweet.
Kiss Alive.
Nassau Coliseum,
Wow.
Hammersmith Odeon,
Nice.
the Fox, the Tower, the Metro. These are all famous venues that you've heard. The Whiskey, whatever.
Sure.
You've read all of the names of these classic venues. That
It's hard to pick a favorite child, isn't it?
well, just to write a song and have it carry you throughout your life and take you through places that you've read about in magazines, that can be a little bit fleeting and shallow on one side of things. But when you're a big ass rock and roll nerd like me,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome.
We can relate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so like in the middle of a song, I'm like, wow. I'm singing a song I wrote in Cobo Hall, going, wow.
That's amazing.
Back of
But
Kiss,
I'm like,
Alive pictures this place, man.
Like stop singing, just so I can go, duh.
Just take it in.
Right.
That's so incredible. Man.
Well, there were some moments like that, but Meadowlands.
Yeah.
It just goes and goes. There's a bunch of cool stuff. There's a bunch of things that I learned about that just by playing music, on the road, you learn about venues. Like there's this place in, I think it's in Charlotte called the Milestone. You guys ever heard of that?
No, sounds cool
The
though.
place is like 90 years old or something, and it's a house. It's a venue that's in a house.
Wow.
Like they made I'm probably making shit up now, but like, moonshine in the backyard and there, blues guys sitting on a stool playing in the corner of this old house in Charlotte. Yeah. And I got to play there. So it's like the legend of Robert Johnson and the Crossroads and the Chitlin Circuit and just all that whole, like, you start learning and talking to locals and you hear about all this really cool stuff. Anyway, history book stuff. And so on a bigger scale, the names of the larger venues that I've mentioned, it's the same thing, just on a bigger. But I love how, we as artists are creating something from nothing, and if you have the chance to, put it out on the road every night and people react a certain way, it'll take you to these places that you've heard about, and you get excited about it because you've heard of these places, and there's something charming and exciting about that. That it started from nothing.
Sure.
And just, something that your intellectual property helped create for you, so you can take a journey. Yeah.
So I want to tell the viewers a little story that you just recently had to go through, and it was all over the news, all the music news sites. There was a stint where he got a call from the band Accept, which is, one of the coolest German bands, that's not named Scorpions, and he gets a call to fill in because their singer gets sick. He has to go in there on a short notice. Goes out there, does some shows with Accept, and then before he even really settles back home, he gets another call to join the Wasp and Armored Saint, and sometimes Michael Schenker tour, and fill in for John Bush, which is not an easy task at all to do.
Actually, don't you remember that night? Michael Schenker said it was the last night of their tour.
Right.
So it came out.
Okay.
So it wouldn't have been Michael Schenker.
So
we're music nerds too.
I think Michael did he did like maybe 2 weeks of that run.
Right.
And I was lucky enough. Did you guys have Michael Schenker there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we had him down in San Antonio. So 9 days before I'm on the phone with Joey Vera, I was at the show.
Oh,
I've
that's
known
pretty cool.
guys forever. I saw Armored Saint, Michael Schenker, and Wasp down in San Antonio. It was kick ass.
Yeah, that's what we saw too.
So if you could just
Mind-blowing
walk us through the timelines of that. I mean, I know it's a long story, and I know you've probably had to explain it millions of times, but it's a really cool story. And like you said, we're music nerds, so it had to mean something really, really big for you to get these opportunities for some of these bands that you grew up listening to.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying looking at the photos.
Oh, let me go back. I got off of it too fast.
Okay.
There you are with
It's
Accept.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah. Wearing my Raven shirt. Yeah.
Love it.
So it's a Tuesday. It's October 17th or something like that. And I have to work that day. And it's early enough. It's like 11 a.m. or noon or whatever. And I get a text message from Don Van Staveren, the bass player for Riot. Now, Don Van Staveren has been a friend of mine since 1983 because his band Slayer, which later became known as San Antonio Slayer or SA Slayer, used to play shows with my band Watchtower all the time. So I've known Don forever. So he texts me, he goes, "Hey, can you sing Accept?" And I was like, I'm not even gonna. I responded with something like, "I'm not even gonna respond to that. You know that I can sing Accept. You know that I worship Accept. Blah blah blah." when are we forming our tribute band? And he goes, LOL, no joke, call this number right now. And I'm like,
Wow.
what?
Holy crap.
So I I end up talking to a guy named Ed Aborn, who has his own story. Ed is I was going to say was, but kind of was, but is the drummer in a Florida band called from the same scene as Nasty Savage and Savatage and the Brandon area. He was in a band called Siren that after like 30 years got a call to play Keep It True Festival in Germany, and they made a movie about it called I'm Too Old for This or something like that. And you guys should check it out. You could go to YouTube and type in Siren the movie, and you'll see my buddy Ed Aborn. So I'd never
familiar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're gonna remember it. So anyway, I'm on the phone with Ed Aborn, and I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." Da 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 da. What's going on? And he's like, "Well, Mark is sick. Their singer is sick and can't do it. He's got it. He's went to the hospital. He's on meds. Da 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 da." I'm like, "Man, that's terrible." And well, they need someone now, and I'm like, "Oh man, I don't know if I can. I don't know, really? Yeah, they need you for like a week, and then they might, if things get worse, we don't know. It could be open-ended. We don't know." Like, oh, this sounds frightening, because I'm in their shoes automatically. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. I would be in. That would be hell for me to be searching for someone to be my singer overnight.
No kidding.
Because if you cancel a tour, 1, 2, 3 more, your crew doesn't work, you don't get paid, you go home, you're, except it was on a headlining tour, not a timeout, but Armored Saint was supporting Wasp, right? So
Right.
slightly different situation, only by length of set. It's still your crew. You go home. You make no money. You do not pass
It's like a
go.
little community. Yeah.
Well, it's a job
Right.
that you've created for people, and you're creating an issue if somebody gets ill and you have to cancel something. Anyway, I was like, man, this is terrible. And he was like, well, they need someone, and I said, oh, and first off, I hear you coughing, and I'm like, yeah, and I had to be honest over the phone. I'm like, I'm just getting over some kind of upper respiratory thing. And they're like, oh no, and we had a good laugh about that because he hears me clearing my throat and coughing and shit. And I said, but I mean, I'm on the mend. I'm going to work. I'm a vocal teacher. I teach music to kids and blah. This is my job. I mean, I'm on the other side of it. And, well, that's good. Anyway, he goes, let me call Wolf and tell him that, what's the situation, and he might just call you. And I go, okay, in the meantime, I just happen, one of my bands called Igniter, we've actually covered Fast as a Shark, and there's a recording of it. I'm going to send you that. And my old band Watchtower, this is a long time ago, it's probably 20 years ago, we did Run If You Can from the Breaker album. I'm going to send you those. They're on YouTube. He goes, okay. So we hang up. I send him those, and the phone rings, and it's Wolf.
Wow.
Wolf Hoffman. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, I fanboyed out as little as possible so I could get to business, because, those records were my high school soundtrack.
Sure.
Anyway, he's like, do you think you can do this? Did you hear first off, did you hear those tracks that I sent to Ed? He goes, yeah, that's why I'm calling you. I'm like, oh, okay, good. That's good. He goes, we want to do this, but I'm going to have another meeting with my band and figure this out for sure, and work on logistics, and I'll call you in an hour. I said, okay. In the meantime, I had to talk to my wife. I had to call my boss. I had to call my podcast partners and say, cancel cancel, because we don't know. I mean, I'll let you know later for sure, but probably going to have to cancel. And they understood. So obviously everything worked out. And I got a text an hour later from Wolf, and he said, "Pack your bags." I think I still have the text. And I blew it up into a poster, and it's hanging above my bed.
Man.
That's pretty cool.
I'm kidding.
Oh.
I don't have a text message from Wolf printed out large in a poster over my bed.
Hanging above your bed on the ceiling.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So anyway, no rehearsal. Got on a plane, flew all day, made it into Allentown, Pennsylvania, and just studied his, songs I kind of knew and songs that I didn't know at all, and did a full set with him the next day.
Holy
you
crap.
know, you would think, like most of us, that were fans of that band, you knew probably the majority of all the Udo stuff. You're a little more inclined with those songs, and then some of the newer ones with Mark, probably had to do a lot of homework on your plane flight there, and headphones, and just kind of like cramming for a high school test, college test, or some sort.
Yeah, but it was the coolest test I've ever taken in my life.
Absolutely.
No, that's exactly what it was like. The set list didn't change much. What Wolf wanted to do is what we ended up doing. I had to, even if he would have given me, 5 different tunes to inject, I would have been like, yes, sir. What was I supposed to do? Right.
Yeah. Right.
So I got on the phone with Mark at the hotel, and because I demanded I told Wolf, I'm like, I have to talk to Mark. And they're like, "Oh, really? It's interesting. Yeah. I want to talk to him, man. I'm in his house. I need him to be comfortable. I need to be comfortable knowing that he knows how I'm feeling about it."
Right.
Oh, that's great. So Wolf handed me. Yes, I spoke. I got to hold Wolf Hoffman's phone and talk on to his singer. So anyway, yeah. So I just told Mark exactly what I just told you guys. Man, you're a legend. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. This is terrible that this is happening. This is your house. This is your show. This is your thing. And I just wanted you to know I'm going to do the best I can. And it's important to me for you to hear these words, knowing that I'm here for you, not the other way around.
Wow.
And I feel like I felt like red carpet treatment. I felt like those guys. Okay, our house is your house. Here you go. Here's your bunk. Eat anything you want. See you on stage. So I said no rehearsal. We did a sound check. This would have been in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, at a venue called Penn's Peak. And it was about an 18-song set, and I kind of knew about a third of it. The rest of it.
Wow, works.
Man, I am doing the best I can. I can't watch the videos, so it's painful for me to watch. But there were great response, and I did the best I could, and I had a lot of fun, and I got to sing with my high school heroes. Right?
What a dream! And then what was the distance of time between your end doing that to when you got the call for Armored Saint?
Good question. So I did 4 shows with Accept, and one show without Mark, and then Mark came back the next day. I don't know if the doctors wanted him to or not, but he did anyway. Wow. And he looked great. He sounded pretty good. He was a little shaky, but he ended up doing about 2/3 of the set, And I kept being his cheerleader. He'd come off stage and we'd sort of tag team. Like he would do like 4 or 5 and he'd announce me. He'd say, and we're bringing my buddy Jason because, everybody knows I've been sick and da-da-da-da. It was really class act.
Nice.
And
Cool.
Nice.
he would tag me and I would sing a couple of old Udo songs. And then I said, hey, guys, let's get Mark out here. And Mark comes back out and he does a couple songs and we do 1 or 2 together and then I'll split. And that was just killer. And so I feel like Accept fans got really this kind of weird super treat kind of thing.
Of course.
But to answer your question, I got home. I guess it had been about 2 or 3 weeks. I can't pinpoint it. The Accept thing was October. This would have been in November.
Wow.
And during that 3 weeks down, right in the middle of it, I went and saw Armored Saint play with Wasp, Michael Schenker, down in San Antonio, and it was an awesome show, and I got to hang with the Saint guys, and I used to be pen pals with John, and so, we already had each other's phone numbers and stuff, and he sounded great. So 9 days later, I got my robe on and I got the dog in my lap and I'm in my easy chair and I'm watching something dumb on Netflix and, I'm just chilling. And it's like a Sunday night or something. Yeah, because I had a gig the night. I had a gig in here in town on that Saturday with Igniter, I think. So it was, a day after a show. I'm just chilling and I just happened to look at my phone and it was Scott from Dangerous Toys and he was calling me and I said, deny. And I was like, he can text me, whatever, it can't be. I like my text to him was like, is everything okay? And he's like, no, you need to call this number right now. And I'm like, oh shit. Because he was giving me Phil Sandoval's number from Armored Saint.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. He's like, yep. So I was like,
Here we go.
yeah, right. Exactly.
So everything had to go right back on cancel. Job, house, your wife.
Right.
Everything has to go on cancel.
Same as it ever was. Ditto,
Wow.
ditto.
Man.
So I call Phil's number and he's like, hey man, I'm just gonna hand the phone to Joey. And I'm like, okay. Okay. So I'm on the phone with Joey for like 45 minutes and I'm like, dude. And he's like, dude. And I'm like, dude. And he's dude.
You knew.
Really, dude? He's like, dude, I know, dude. I know. It was one of those. And I'm like, I just saw you guys a week ago. What? He was fine. What the hell? And he's like, I know. And so, yeah, long story short, it was just the exact same thing. And somebody had pointed out to me is like, man, these bands that are on tour are hitting the Eastern Seaboard and their singers are just getting hit with this crud. And I said, well, I'm here to help. So it was, 9 or 10 songs, not 18.
Right.
And I, I could say this about Accept. I phonetically knew most of the songs, older stuff, of course.
Yeah.
And they knew I was a fan, and they total trust. It was total trust. With Accept, I think that all they had to go on was just stuff they could find online and take the Philip Schaus, guitar player for Accept, as well as the drummer Christopher Williams, who are both Nashville based. They're familiar with my catalog. They're fans of Broken Teeth and the Toys, and Christopher Williams, the drummer, actually did a gig when he was a kid in like the early 2000s with Broken Teeth in South Carolina. I can't remember the name of the.
So they could kind of vouch for you then.
Yeah, exactly. And if this guy and Jason McMaster, Philip Schaus was my cheerleader. He was going, that's the guy. We got to get that guy, So That was good. In that sort of vein of fandom, or hoorah, was happening automatic with Saint, because I've known those guys, but not close. I don't have dinner at their house, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been in touch with those guys pretty closely for ever. 40.
Armored Saint's badass. You know what? My first Tulsa, Oklahoma concert, ironically, was at Kane's Ballroom, and that was Wasp, Armored Saint, and Metallica.
Yeah.
In 1985.
Yeah.
Wasp didn't play, though. Due to an illness in the band, Wasp will not be playing tonight. But I got to see Cliff Burton play. And that was cool.
You did. Yes, you did. So you and me could talk about Metallica for an hour.
Yeah.
I saw them on the Kill 'Em All for One tour, opening
sweet.
for Raven.
Wow.
And Raven was already one of my favorite bands, and
Yeah.
The Gallagher brothers, right?
Metallica was my newest favorite band. Anyway, I was pen pals for Hetfield for years, and when they came through on that Ride the Lightning tour with Armored Saint and Wasp, they played. It was February 21st of 1985. They played the Austin City.
Well, they were probably here just a week or two later.
Oh yeah, or
Yeah.
days.
Yeah,
Days
exactly.
before. Yeah.
And so you had to put a portfolio together for for these shows, for all your lyrics, and you had to come up with this, like a little light,
A binder.
a binder.
The poor man's teleprompter.
Right.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
I want to tell you, there's a really cool way to make even an upgrade on that without going full scale teleprompters. You can, just gut out like a wooden monitor,
Like a floor monitor.
like a floor monitor, and put in a computer screen.
Can I
and then
interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Can I interrupt you, please?
Sure. Go ahead.
Won't fit in a suitcase.
All right.
I know, but you just tell your guys on the other side, you've got to have one of these ready for me, and then you just take your iPad and you're ready to go.
All right.
I'm
We'll
gonna
help
stick.
you.
I'm gonna stick with my way.
Well,
I know. I know that. I know the teleprompter thing is a popular thing now with us old guys, but I gotta be able to, and there has to be some sort of magic to what I'm doing, since I got called twice.
Right.
Oh,
That's
for
true.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Because I'm sitting in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and John Bush is texting me because his tour manager tells him that I'm out fronting Accept for a week, and John Bush is texting me going, "How are you knowing the fucking words, dude?" And I'm like,
works.
and I took a picture of this contraption, and he was like, "Oh, I get it. And it fits in a backpack. I check no bags, I check no gear, I take no gear. It's a backpack and a little roly-poly. So I took very, very little. The only sort of device I took was whatever device I wanted to. I took a laptop, so just in case my phone, I had to have a way to I had to take some kind of office,
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
with me. So, but yeah, the teleprompter thing, I think just having a binder with a halogen light on it really did work well.
And it was quick, quicker than having to.
Dude, like hours later, I'm on a plane.
That's amazing.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
go with what you know. We've got our poor man's monitor, like Scott's talking about, and it works.
Have
but
like a Bluetooth pedal that can scroll the page.
Wow.
And everything that just boom.
it's not like
and
Ozzy
you
Osbourne's
can put-
teleprompter, but it works.
You know who
put it
has
on a-
you know who has one similar to how you're describing that I think he actually built is Ray from Fate's Warning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or he did have one in his earlier days. Yeah. I think Joey was telling me about Ray's, because Joey's in Merciful Fate. He's in Fate's Warning.
Yeah.
He's
all
a
over the
god.
place.
Yeah, and he was telling me about Ray's thing, and it sounded really cool, and it's something that he built. But they have a road case.
Sure.
Yeah,
I get your dilemma. I get it.
And you're on a plane an hour.
It had to be quick, and it was all I knew.
I got you, man.
Seeing some of those videos with you with Accept and of course Armored Saint, and I know you probably had a lot of comparisons to Axl Rose, with your Dangerous Toys debut. Your vocal styles were very similar, but something that kind of struck me was your performance on stage. You and Sebastian Bach, I mean, you guys are both probably 6'4", but you have these tall builds.
I got you fooled. I'm 5'11".
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you look so tall.
My license says that I'm 6 foot, but
Let's go with that.
That's
But
maybe
you kind of resemble
5'11" and a half. Yeah.
You kind of resemble your stage performance. Kind of resembles Sebastian Bach a little bit. The way you kind of move your arms and stuff. You kind of have that kind of vibe to you. I don't know if you ever heard that before.
No, I haven't. That's interesting, but I'll take it as a compliment.
Let me ask you something real quick. So obviously you can do all these different metal styles, from hard rock to like progressive thrash metal. Is there a particular genre you're more comfortable with? Obviously you can do both fantastically well, but what is your wheelhouse? All of it?
No, because and you guys have heard this, or firsthand that when you're writing songs, you want to be able to do it live.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I with projects like Igniter and another group I have a few records out with is Howling Sycamore and Evil United. These three projects are very metal.
Yes.
Very, very, very metal. And from thrash to classic to true power, put it in a blender, and that's what it is. If not progressive as well. Mm-hmm. So the vocals that I'm writing for these particular projects are quite hard to do live.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I pull it off somehow, but I'm not smart. I'm just telling you guys I'm not very smart, because if I was smart, I would kind of take it easy and write these a little bit more comfortable for, don't have too much fun, because you're going to have to do this live every night. So what's more in my wheelhouse is probably the stuff I do with Broken Teeth and Dangerous Toys, and not so much with the metal stuff.
Okay.
But I do get called on a lot to write, to use those other voices, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love using those other voices because those are the ones that are going to keep you in shape more than just something that might be closer to, or in your wheelhouse, to use your phrase.
Right.
But not saying that, it's not necessarily because I'm singing lower either. It's not about how high or how low I'm singing. It's probably the tone that I'm using more than anything, and how fast the material is, or like I'll write this really cool thing, and then I'll have to go, hey dumbass, when are you gonna breathe?
Yeah.
So there's that, but the Accept and the Armored Saint, when you kind of think about what the, I'll just say Udo, because Mark is Mark. Mark is a phenomenal singer. Mark Ternille from Accept.
He fronted TNT, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, TT Quick.
TT Quick. Thank you.
Yeah, it's legendary in Jersey. It's legendary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not only was I covering for Mark, I was covering for Mark, who was in his hometown. I'm in his turf,
neck of the woods. Wow. Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
People are showing up to see Mark, and they're seeing this redheaded Texas guy. Who the fuck is this? Yo, who the fuck is this? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the snake pit. This is gonna be, So thank God he was there. I'm glad that he came back and that we got to do such a memorable kind of tag team thing through his
pretty cool.
neck of the woods. Yeah. But the everybody thinks, oh yeah, Udo's easy to sing, and John Bush, he's easy to sing.
No.
Oh really?
Hell no.
Really, people say that? because I don't know anybody that says that.
I got to tell you also, Jason, you made such a brilliant comment on one of your other interviews that I'd never thought about until you made me think about it. You were describing John Bush's vocal style, and you think of Armored Saint, even the stuff he did with Anthrax. You just think of that razor sharp metal. But you said, John Bush is a bluesy singer, and I've never looked at it that way until you said that. And it's like, that's right, he really is, and he's just got that such a strong kind of mid-range. I mean, it's just power. And I can see that being very difficult to emulate.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because Udo is Udo, but I love Udo.
That's tough to sing, man.
There's a lot of people that don't understand Udo. Yeah, but he talks like that too. I mean, it's like Lemmy. Lemmy talks like the way he's, that's his voice. If Lemmy could have sang like Paul McCartney, he would have. Trust me, because he was a Beatles guy. So he just did the best he can, and thank God he was in the disposition that he was in, and he just this is what God gave me. This is what I'm gonna fucking use, and I'm like, yeah, you don't want to think any other way. You need to just be you all the time. So if I could remember that every time I step up to the mic, I'm going to be fine.
Sure.
But like something that you said about Bush is he is a bluesy singer in this almost the same. People are going to hate me for throwing this rock, but in the way Ronnie James Dio is a blues singer, because he's a blues singer and he's a true tenor. And I think Bush is a tenor, but he also has a mixed voice that he uses a lot as well.
Yeah.
And that mixed voice is pretty much all I fucking got. You know what I mean?
When we saw him, man, I was shocked. He was hitting note. I was just like,
So
and let's
good.
face it, we all know Blackie Lawless was using some tracks to help out, but man, Anthrax, Armored Saint got up there, and I was just like, my
They killed
God,
it.
he sounds so incredible.
They killed it.
It was great.
Yeah, they're an amazing band, and John's an amazing singer.
I agree with you.
I think that it's important to, it's like, oh yeah, these guys are sick, and just some guy's gonna come up and sing, Udo and John Bush. Like,
Right.
what? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
What did they just say? Who can sing that?
Right.
So it was kind of like it took people back, and they couldn't. So it was the train wreck, that people actually, I feel like, wanted to see. You guys at the top of the program, you guys mentioned that it was on like every, me doing these 2 stints. It was on like every
music scene,
rock and metal music.
Oh, yeah, of course.
all over the internet.
And so I feel like people were tuning in to see the train wreck, and were, if I don't say so myself, might have been pleasantly surprised, just to use some kind of phrase right here.
Right.
So I was happy of that, and I was really feeling the love from my constituents and my friends and my family from home, saying, you got it. He's killing it. He's doing fine. Under the circumstances, he's got balls bigger than basketballs to even attempt to go do this.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest love that
But
I
how
could
do you
have.
pass up opportunities like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to do,
Well, it kind of goes back to what John Bush was saying. How are you doing this? How do you're either really fucking stupid, or this is John Bush.
Right.
But you know what? You went in there and you saved the day.
Absolutely.
You saved the day, and everyone. The paycheck kept coming for everyone. No one had to go home for a week, and
Plus, you're building a resume. Pretty soon, you might get a call from Gene Simmons needing a Paul Stanley replacement.
Well, it was funny. I got home from the Armored Saint thing, and then Steven Tyler got sick out in Vegas, and Aerosmith canceled their residency, and there were jokes and memes and stuff I was getting from. So, is your phone ringing? Or so.
Sure.
That would be fun to sing some Aerosmith, but
yeah.
But no, that call didn't come, and I think it's turning into a joke at this point, because.
So at the beginning of our beginning of our podcast, we mentioned how we started this podcast, through the pandemic and everything, and just got bored and started this. We're on our episode 71, and we just kind of started with interviewing each other, on a really makeshift thing. And I know you got your own podcast as well, and I think you're on your 100th and something episodes, and recently subscribed to your Talk Louder, and you can check that out at talklouderpodcast.com. But tell me a little bit about your podcast, and what are your expectations going further with that show, and how far do you want to see it go?
Well, first off, I want to say, before we get too deep into this, I appreciate you guys having me on your podcast. You started during a pandemic, so you wouldn't go completely batshit.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Because that's to talk to a guy who started a podcast during a pandemic so he and his friends wouldn't go batshit.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's pretty much it. The same reason you guys were hanging out on Zoom or whatever it is. Yes, same thing. At first we didn't. The story goes like this. Me and my co-host, Metal Dave, David Glessner, who's a journalist, he gets calls to interview the dudes in Anthrax because they're doing a tour. He's the guy that gets the call to talk to any artist that's coming through, or what. He's interviewed David Lee Roth and David Bowie and Rob Halford and Ozzy Osbourne and Lemmy and Eddie Van Halen, and he's talked to all of his idols, and it was probably some of it pre-internet, or it was little recorder, or answering machine recording phone calls, that for smaller newspapers, in San Antonio and Austin area. He's a metal nerd just like me. So the pandemic comes, and we've known each other forever, and the pandemic hits, and my guitar player, songwriting partner in Broken Teeth, Jared Tootin, who was also the guitar player in a band some of you old schoolers might have heard of called Pariah. They were on Geffen Records and had a record out called Tamaka Killingbird. Pariah and Dangerous Toys used to play shows together all the time, before the Toys got picked up and after. So I've known Jared forever too. Okay, so pandemic comes, Jared calls me and Dave and goes, "What do you guys think about doing a podcast?" And hold the phone for a second, because it wasn't that long ago that I didn't know what a fucking podcast was. Mm-hmm. And because I'm dumb like that, I'm not techie at all. So, hence my folder with sheet protectors and a flashlight on it for my teleprompter. I'm not techie at all. So here we are. We're going, sure, man. It's like Elon Musk calling up Beavis and Butthead. Hey, you guys should do a podcast. It's like a smart guy calling some caveman headbanger dummies.
All right.
We're like, sure, all right. What do we do? How does that work? What's a podcast? Insert finger into nose kind of thing. And so once we got rolling, and we really didn't, as you know, we really didn't have to. I mean, turned out I had all the gear here already, and I had recently had to learn how to teach online because for the same reason,
right? Because
my school had to go remote because, I was lucky to have a job. If I wouldn't have learned how to do that, I would have been, screwed. So I had already had this rig set up. So once we got Dave's rig put together, and he went through about 20 different stupid microphones, and I'm kidding, but I know you know what I mean.
Yes.
Once we got everything working okay, Jared would just be like off camera running, he was the wizard behind the curtain, right? In our first few episodes, maybe 15 episodes, about 15 episodes. Maybe we didn't have guests. We would just interview. We would just talk to each other, like you, exactly the way you guys did. And we would talk about. We'd pick a topic and just hang out. And next thing you know, we were on there 2.5, 3 hours, just talking about Kiss or AC/DC or Motorhead or whatever, right? But we would pick topics. Like one of our topics would be replacement singers, and we give opinions about Sammy Hagar and Van Halen, and how Bon Scott's not the original singer for AC/DC. And we would just start these whole, we'd plant seeds, and next thing you know, we'd be in trouble because we missed dinner, So that, we were like, yes, okay, this is working. And once we realized that the less scripting we did, where we just hang out and shoot the shit, it was really the best way to go. And now we got like you were saying, we're 130 or ish episodes, and it's weird because 2 years just like disappeared, and in those 2 years are recorded on the hard drive. It's crazy. So between me and David, we just started, about episode 20 or whatever, we just started saying, well, let's try to have a guest every time. It doesn't really matter who it is, and we just started inviting our friends. We've literally had our friends as guests,
That's how it was for us. I mean, it was local. We were interviewing local musicians, and then one day we're looking off to our right on the computer screen, and there's Rudy Sarzo, and it's really odd at first. You're talking to like Stephen Pearcy, who Out of the Cellar was like one of the biggest albums for me as a 13-year-old kid. And it's so cool, man. It's just to think there's Rudy Sarzo. That's as close as I'm ever going to get to Randy Rhoads right there. Talking to Rudy Sarzo. It was pretty cool, though.
I will say this, though, and I don't know, you probably have not run into this because you guys obviously have more connections in the industry than we do, but when the pandemic had everybody locked down, we our format is live. We do it live. I don't know if you guys, pre-record it and edit it and then release it, but we're too scared.
We're too afraid to do it live.
I understand. It is risky.
You're doing it live right now, Jason.
I'm afraid. I came in kicking and screaming. Some of the emails were alluding that it was live. I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, wow. But what we noticed early on when everyone was locked down, the numbers were just astronomical. And then, of course, as life has gotten kind of more back to normal, it's tougher to draw in the numbers like that. But, quite honestly, we do it just because we enjoy it ourselves, and we're getting to talk to people like you.
Music nerds.
It's just a treat.
And just the tough job of reaching out to like publicists and how you got to find the right ways to get into some of these people. You get no replies. Some people don't have time. Call me back in 3 weeks. This sort of thing. It's hair pulling experience. But once you get them, it's like cha-ching. It's like jackpot. Hell yeah, we got them. So
well, it's I have a lot of fun doing it. It doesn't really take that much out of my personal time. It's kind of like having another band or another project, because when we sell a coffee mug, a Talk Louder coffee mug or a t-shirt, I'm like, yes, you know what I mean? It's like,
yes, we do.
I said it a long time ago. Actually, I can't take credit for it. I got it from a friend of mine, but you win your fans one at a time.
True.
It's kind of a DIY thing. It's it's like, what, you like this shit? Awesome. Because I'm just winging it. This is just came out of my brain, and someone likes it. Cool.
For sure.
So I think that it's important to keep your feet on the ground and your head below the clouds, and do it for all of the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about a podcast. I'm talking about everything. Right. So important to know that when someone okay, I'll do your podcast, I bet their numbers suck, what I mean? It's like, as soon as Dave called me, and he was he was on the line. He was had a fish on the hook, and it might have been like Ripper Owens or someone like that,
Yeah.
someone pretty badass. And the publicist asked Dave, and Dave was just telling me the story. The publicist asked what our numbers were, and I said, "Don't laugh at me, okay, guys?" I said, "The fuck do they mean by that?"
Yeah.
Because numbers, it's like, I don't do this for numbers.
Right.
I mean, I want to do some sort of like Shanghai, standing on my head journalism of things I care about. But I don't. If they think that I'm legitimate, keep moving, because I'm not claiming to be legit.
Right, and in some places your numbers are bigger. Like, say, for instance, with us, our numbers are bigger on Facebook because it's where it kind of started. It's
Right.
where, our page has grown up. And then I don't know shit about how to get subscribers on YouTube. I just don't. And I try to figure it out. I don't know how to, now if something gets picked up, through blabbermouth or whatever, and a story gets picked up, and then, suddenly we get some hits on our YouTube page.
Same.
That's the only way I'm seeing how it works, because I can't, other than sharing it on Facebook and say, "Hey guys, subscribe to our YouTube." But man, that's like one of the toughest. And we're on Twitter and all these other places, and I don't really know our numbers in a lot of these places. And
I'm laughing because you sound like me.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I can't figure it out either. And don't take this the wrong way. I personally, as well as my bands and my podcasts, are all over that social media stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm on there. I'm just like surfing.
We're just three friends. We're all in bands. We just like we can't be playing. We like to be talking about music, much like you,
But honestly, I equate what all of us are doing, you included. It's like trying to make it in a band.
Eddie Trunk says everybody has a podcast.
It's
now.
so oversaturated because so many people did exactly what the four of us did. We got bored during the pandemic. Boom, here's our podcast. And it's tough. It's like being out on Sunset Strip trying to nail your flyer to the telephone pole, and here comes the guy behind you putting his flyer over the top of it.
Yep.
It's no different. It's not.
So we're comfortable in hell.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're just okay in hell. We're just in hell, and we show up every day. Yes, Master.
Yeah, punch
Yes,
that
Master.
clock.
Yes,
absolutely.
I'm here for you, Master. Right.
Well,
obviously, we're glutton for punishment, and
guess.
it's just because we love rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's so
I
true.
agree.
That's the best part, when you realize why you're doing something and you can stand by it.
Right.
Right.
Would you be willing to come back and do a part 2? Because we've already been on with you for an hour and 20 minutes.
maybe he can bring
and-
John Bush with him.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, he happens to be. Hey, John.
Oh my God.
No, I don't know, but I can put in a good word.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
We'd be great talking to you again, because we didn't even get into a lot of stuff that I wanted to get into with
like
you.
your Judas Priest tribute thing.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Well, it's like a unicorn, but I have a rule: never break up the band.
Right.
You don't have to play any shows; just don't break up the band.
That's
just make
true.
sure you guys okay. You good? Okay, because in 3 years I might call you. We might okay, I'll be ready.
Is this picture I have up on the screen, is this with Igniter or is this with Sad Wings?
That's with Igniter. Sad Wings, I pull all my hair back and glue it down. I wear the hat.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm looking like Unleashed in the East.
You ride a motorcycle out on the stage?
I have a chopper that I used to like doll up and put headlights on and everything, and bring it out during Hellbent for Leather, and whip it and fuck it while I sang to it.
We're gonna put that lyric monitor on the back of that chopper.
There you go.
If you're ever in Tulsa, I want to show you our lyric monitor. We're so proud of this creation, and I understand you can't put it on an airplane. I get that, but it has made life a lot easier. So anyway,
Nice. Well, I'm open to discuss any help for putting on a good show.
Yeah, well, you might get the call again, so I just want life to be good and easy for you.
I appreciate you coming on this show, and just the fact that you were a music fan such as I and Nine and Jana over here. You know, the Grim Reapers, all the cool stuff. You know, growing up and just appreciating some of that stuff that just never made it. Never rise to the top like some of the others. But
the Sweet Pains.
You were a lot like me with all of your King Diamond stuff back there. All your I was a big Merciful Fate fan, but then at the same time I was into Pretty Boy Floyd and Rock's Gang, and I just loved it all and collected it all, and I wasn't ashamed of any of it. I was a big fan and supported all that stuff, and it sounds like you were much the same. And
that's the way to be, and and I appreciate you putting your heart on your sleeve, because it's the only way to live. Because once they see you coming, they know you're real. Yep. The older I get, I realize that there's a lot of truth to heavy metal fans. I'll just generalize. Heavy metal fans are the best fans in the world because they're the smartest, and they're not afraid to be who they are and fight for what they like and believe in. They probably have a library card. I think heavy metal fans get a bad rap all the time.
Yes.
The interesting thing is what I'm really trying to say here is, like, when you think of the guys in Venom or the guys in Celtic Frost, and sure, they might like the alternative type of music, that could be anything, whatever alternative means to you. But when I see like Tom Warrior, one of my heroes from Celtic Frost and Triptychon and Triumph of Death, Hellhammer, etc., when I see him wear like a Moxie shirt, dude, that's one of the coolest, like, old school Canadian hard rock Led Zeppelin wannabe bands in the world. And they're kind of glammy and stuff too. When I see, like, the guys in the heaviest bands in the world and the thrashiest bands in the world wear Kiss t-shirts and Van Halen t-shirts and Def Leppard shirt, that's our people. And so it doesn't matter what you're popular for. If you're a music fan, you're a music fan.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you so much for coming on with us. Everybody out there, stay in touch with Jason. Go to his website, jasonmcmaster.net. Follow everything he's doing and support it. Hey, if you're ever in Oklahoma, make sure you look us up, Tulsa Music Stream, and after we get off the air, we'll send you the link to the replay of the interview. And let's do this again. Cool. We need to get into more of your story.
Yeah. It's on YouTube and Facebook.
We could talk for a while.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You don't get me started, obviously, because I can go like the Energizer Bunny.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Jason, take care. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
TalkLouderPodcast.com, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Cool.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
Awesome. Cool guy.
Yes, very cool.
Man.
Very cool.
We didn't even get to... there's so much I wanted to ask him about.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, he was courted not once but twice by Vinnie Paul to audition for Pantera in 1986. Then fast forward to 1999, he was courted twice by Skid Row. And he turned both gigs down for the same reasons.
And so he could have brought that up when I brought up Sebastian Bach.
Well, we're going to have him back. He's just done so much. I'll be honest, I wasn't aware of how much he has done until I started researching for this interview. But man, the guy has an extensive resume.
I wanted to ask him about his vinyl collection and see what because it looked like he had a whole lot of shit behind him.
Yeah,
he was talking about he was
we need a little tour of his wall,
No
like someone who gave us a tour through their house that time. Who was that?
Drummer for Tesla.
Troy Luccketta?
Yeah, okay.
Troy.
I was like, we needed a little tour of the wall, the memorabilia and the paraphernalia.
But he said he was a tape trader back in the day when he was young. Yeah. So I wondered like how much of that stuff you still had, behind him.
Right.
If any of that stuff was from the stuff that he traded.
We'll have to request a wall tour and a house tour.
Probably had like Witch Find or. a lot of crazy bands back then.
All right, nature calls. So
Yeah, do you need to,
Oh, I do.
go?
I'm
Okay,
gonna go.
we'll wrap this
Yeah,
up.
thank you guys so much, and make sure you hit like and subscribe to our
Nine.
YouTube channel. Share our stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. Also, if we'll have our episode uploaded to Spotify, our Heart Radio, Amazon Music, and we're also on, of course, the Apple Podcasts and all that good stuff. And there it is right there: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts, and many others. Just get on there, hit follow, hit like on all that stuff. If you want to listen to it in your vehicle going to work in the mornings, or if you want to listen to us on some earphones or earpods. Hear
Earbuds.
Earbuds, where they're now like earpods.
Hearing aids. Yeah.
Earpods.
Hey, Teresa, let's check out your camera
So
shot.
how you doing, Teresa?
There she is. Wow, look how close up she is now.
Really?
Right
Frightens
there.
me.
No, you're good. You look great. Yeah, we do need to get you more light back there, but this was like a last second thing. But we've got 3 cameras working now, and you know why? Let me tell you why.
Where's the other one?
I had it up a few times. Let
did
me.
you?
Yeah, hold on. Now I have to sift through and find it. Damn it! Oh, here it is, right there. Hey. Yeah, we need to kind of play with those still, but we're getting there. But let me explain how it is that we have 3 cameras. Thanks to our sponsor, DEB Concerts, we appreciate Doug Burgess and his support of our stream. He has enabled us to get some more equipment, adding and improving all the time. Thank you, Doug Burgess.
Thank you, Doug.
Yes, we appreciate you. Check out everything.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Check out everything he's got going on at debconcerts.com. Shout out to Okie PC, Dustin Little. Thanks for always being such a faithful supporter of Tulsa Music Stream. If you folks out there have any IT needs whatsoever, you can get a hold of Dustin at Okie PC, 918-640-0892, or you can email Dustin at okiepc.com. Get you a TMS hoodie while it's still kind of chilly outside. Go to our Tulsa Music Stream Facebook page and click on the online store link at the top. You can get some t-shirts, a hoodie, or a tank. We've got warm weather coming up. Thanks to our other sponsors, Psychomo Filmworks. Thank you, buddy, for an awesome intro you did for us. We are going to get back to work. Hey, he's back. How was your trip to the restroom?
Well, I mean, I gotta tell you, it was relieving.
Yeah, was it?
I guess I don't need the earphones anymore. I can hear you.
Really? Okay.
Did I miss anything?
So, Teresa, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good.
Yeah.
I didn't do much, which was nice. Kind of took the weekend off.
I got to tell you, I'm missing football, and so far the XFL's not cutting it for me.
I keep waiting for Vince McMahon to come out and intervene in some way.
Do you guys think they're pumping crowd noise into those games?
Probably so.
Yeah, we were watching a little bit of that last night.
Maybe I don't think Vince McMahon does. He still own it? I don't think he does.
I don't know. Don't let me tell
But
you.
I had it on the TV last night, and
Yeah.
it's just not the same. Those are the guys that didn't make the NFL, and
I saw Wade Phillips was there.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, if
That
you
brought
can't
back
coach in the NFL anymore, then you might still have a job. But
right.
I do like to see Bob Stoops. That's
That
nice.
was cool, and they won, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that was cool.
Tulsa Sports
Well, thank you,
Stream.
Dustin Little, for helping us out and
Yes.
A little
joining
help
us.
from our friends.
Joining us in the chat room, Travis Arnold, thank you very much. Bonnie Miller, thank
Travis.
you. Angie Parker and Chuck Cooley, thank you guys. Man, Johnny Nitros was in the house. Thank
I
you,
know.
Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
Just really a lot of cool people. Tiffany Sexton Peterman, she's going to go, I guess. She's a big fan of Dangerous Toys and Jason.
Nice.
So that's cool.
Very cool.
They chimed in the chat room quite much.
Thank you, everybody.
Quite much.
Jamie Hooper,
Quite
thank
much.
you, sir. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Jerry Crittenden, thank you so much for joining us in the chat room and checking our stream out. We had a wonderful interview with Jason McMaster.
Yep.
Dangerous Toys, Dirty Looks. I mean, Dirty Looks, they were like one of those cool bands that
Oh,
we were
yeah.
talking about.
Hell
And-
yeah. Yeah.
So we are going to go get to work and get some more things lined up so we can get back on here and see you fine folks and learn some more music history from some of these heroes of ours. Thanks again to Jason McMaster for a great interview tonight.
Are we holding out for a hero?
Is that a song?
Is
Yeah,
it?
is.
I guess we are.
Isn't it Bonnie Tyler?
Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's in the stream. Didn't I just say thanks,
Yeah.
Bonnie Tyler?
Yeah, I know. Total eclipse
Yeah.
of the heart.
She says, hello, Jason. That's Bonnie.
Wow, amazing.
Bonnie Miller.
All right. Well, what do you folks say we get out of here and enjoy the rest of our Sunday night? And we will let you know when we're going to be back on. Watch the Tulsa Music Stream page on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for your
What's up,
support.
Doug? Yeah, and please go ahead and share our stream on all your favorite pages and everything. We really appreciate it. Hit like and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's much appreciated if you haven't done that.
The more the merrier, right?
They always say 97% of your listeners and viewers are not subscribers.
Change that.
That's a problem.
Gotta change it.
Yeah.
Much love, guys. Have a great week. We'll see you
Night.
soon
Joy
on
to the
Tulsa
world.
Music Stream. Good night.